Good afternoon. Welcome to the third of the concert series, Music from the Back Porch. Today, we're in beautiful downtown Keene in the back porch of the community center. We have no audience, so the people I'm speaking to is you in your home who are watching this. So thank you very much for joining us. I want to tell you a little bit about the concert series. We write a grant to the decentralization grant program in October, and then when we are awarded the grant in January, we begin looking for funds to support the program. So I want to tell you that we have sponsors today. Sponsoring the whole concert series is the town of Keene, and we're grateful to them for their help. East Branch Friends of the Arts, the Cedar Run Bakery, the Mountaineer, Rivermead, and Active in the Adirondacks. It's a great gift to us that they support us, even in this format. We also have the help of a committee who works on this program, which is Mike and Joanne, Leslie Kusarchik, Ellen Dubois, and Nancy Emmerich. So we thank them as well for helping us pull this together and to bring you music. So the project is made possible in part with funds from the decentralization program, a re-grant program of the New York State Council on the Arts, with the support of Governor Andrew Cuomo and the New York State Legislature, and administered by the Adirondack Center for the Lakes. So thank you very much for watching us, and enjoy the concert. Tonight's concert is Peggy, Lynn, and Dan Duggan with Music of the Adirondacks. Thanks for joining.
Well, we want to thank you for listening. We want to thank Keene and Keene Valley for hosting us. We want to thank all the people who administer the decentralization grant for supporting live music, even if it's not quite face-to-face live.
It's virtual, and that's all that makes the difference.
So,
all right. Well, are you ready, darling?
here's a song from decades ago, to which the kids here in Keene Valley Central School wrote a verse about what mountain kids do in the wintertime. So when we get to that verse, you can just picture those kids who are now adults, probably with kids of their own.
Okay.
We belong to the mountains. We're born on the breeze. We learn to dance from the swaying of trees. Learn to be free from a swift flowing stream. They give us their wisdom. We give them our dreams. There's a lesson I'm learning from the old towering trees. How to change with the season, how to bend in the breeze. There's a season of rest, a season to grow, a season of color, and a season of snow. We belong to the mountains, born on the breeze, and we learn to dance from the swaying of trees. Learn to be free from a swift flowing stream. They give us their wisdom. We give them our dreams. These mountains are ancient. These mountains are strong. Their music will heal us if we'll sing along. Wind in the willows and the bird in the air have stories stars on a clear summer night. Our sun is just one of the many inside. We are so small in this grand universe. It makes me feel grateful for my time on this earth. We belong to the mountains. We were born on the breeze. We learn to dance from the swaying of trees. We learn to be free from the swift flowing stream. They give us their wisdom. We give them our dreams. They give us their wisdom. We give them our dreams.
All right. Well, we will do a couple of tunes, and I'm playing an instrument called the hammered dulcimer, the great granddaddy of the piano or the harpsichord, and we'll let you hear a little more of that. We'll do a traditional tune, actually a traditional New England dance tune, which is called Cuffy, followed by a wonderful tune we learned from our friend Pete Sutherland from Vermont, and it's called Shenandoah Falls. Yes, sir. All right. Here's a song, a newer song of Peggy's that we're really happy to sing for you. Well, she's really happy to sing for you. You wrote this one for the Kurt, didn't you, at the Sam Fest?
You want to get your guitar?
Yes, I am, darling.
Okay, good. And I'll introduce the song. I wrote this song for the Science Arts Music Fest that happens up in Paul Smith's every year in April. Well, almost every year, not this year. But every year they have a theme, and Kurt lets us know months beforehand. Kurt Stager is the one who runs it. And they have presentations all day about science and the environment, and then they have musicians. And so last year the theme was the unexpected. And so I found that I have unexpectedly been absolutely thrilled every year when spring comes. I think that I'm going to be jaded about it eventually when I'm, too old to care that the change of seasons is happening. But instead, it's more exciting every year. So that's where this song comes from.
Isn't it the older we get, we don't expect it. Because we forget that it's going to happen. And it happens, and it's like fantastic. All right.
When the finches lose their drab overcoats and they flaunt their laughing daffodil yellow, it's always a surprise. It startles my eyes to see that little brilliant fellow. When hyacinths hop open pastel petals and their perfume permeates the air, it amazes me still, that olfactory thrill, and makes my own bare skin worth the dare. So many trips around the sun, so much luscious living left undone. I've seen spring come year after year, but it's an unexpected pleasure when it's here. When the maple trees start shuttling their sugar, and the taste temptation teases my tongue, makes me feel alive like I'm the queen of the hive, or a flapper of a bell that's just been rung. Unexpected pleasure when it's here. Unexpected pleasure when it's here. Unexpected pleasure when it's here.
Oh, I love that song. Well, we're going to play a couple of original tunes on the dulcimer. First one I wrote for some friends who used to live in North Creek, our friends William and Elise Woodland. And so I wanted to put both of their names in it, so I called it the Wood Elise Waltz. And of course, Elise always said, no, his name is Woody. I said, I know. We just put that in there together. So the Woodley Swallows. And then our good friends, the Wakeman's, who live in Raybrook, New York. I got to work with Bethany for a few years on the hammered dulcimer. And her mother, Lynn Wakeman, is from Nebraska. And her favorite saying was slicker than a pair of moose lips. And I was wondering why anybody in Nebraska would have anything to know anything about that. I don't know if they have moose in Nebraska. That's something to look up. Google it. Maybe you'll find out something. But she used to say that was her favorite saying. So one time she called me up and said, wouldn't it be great if somebody wrote me a slip jig and called it slicker than a pair of moose lips slip jig? And I said, no, I don't think it would be. But I wrote her this tune instead. And it kind of goes between 9/8 and 6/8. And because Lynn's a little bit quirky herself, the tune has a couple extra beats in the A part and the B part. So it's not really good for contra dancing. So it wasn't designed that way. So here we go with the Woodley Swallows and Slicker Than a Pair of Moose Lips. Let me just put this damper up here real quick. Okay. Are you ready, darling?
So ever be.
You sure are. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. quicker than a pair of wood snips. Well, it's actually kind of nice to be outside. And the summer is always this has been a very strange summer, the whole COVID thing. And usually we're complaining about the instruments going out of tune when it's outside. We're just thrilled to be outside playing. Because we haven't had many chances to do that this summer, and we're thrilled to be here. In your living room, or wherever you're listening or watching this.
I went to Paul Smith College to study forestry eons ago, back in the Pleistocene.
Wasn't that the last century?
I heard lots of wonderful stories about lumberjacks and logging camps, and I never heard a song or story completely dedicated to the logging camp cook. And I knew that there were some brave, hardworking women who worked in those lumber camps and kept those men fed. And even though their work was not as dangerous, some would say, they had a longer day, because back then, before machinery with lights on it, the loggers could only work from sun up to sun down, but the cook was often working much longer. So here's a fictitious story for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. She was brought in the beam and buxom. She had a beautiful gap to the smile. She used her rolling pin to keep the peace when that logging camp got wild. Well, those lumberjacks sure loved her, 'cause she kept them fed so well. Not one of them ever knew her name. They just finally called her Big Belle. Big Belle. They say she came from Montreal. Big Belle. She woke up every bunkhouse brawl. She worked all day long from the light of dawn, long after the last pine fell. Then those lumberjacks came running back to the woman they called Big Belle. Well, she'd hum an old-time love song while she made that cook stove shine. Lord, she was so big that when she danced a jig, you could hear those floorboards whine. Well, she may not have been petite, my friend, oh, the twinkle in her eye. When through the kitchen door she heard them yell for more, for scrumptious apple pie. Big Belle, they say she came from Montreal. Big Belle, she woke up every bunkhouse brawl. She worked all day long from the light of dawn, long after the last pine fell. Then those lumberjacks came running back to the woman they called Big Belle. Now Belle didn't stand for nonsense when those boys sat down to eat. She didn't take it kind, they had on mind to call her something sweet. One night a young man snuck up on her and he kissed her on the cheek. What happened then would shake most men. He did not speak for a week. Big Belle,
let's do it in, I'm not sure that. All right, you know, during this time of COVID and this isolation, it's been kind of strange how we all have to sort of pitch in to make this all work. There's been this debate about wearing face masks, which I sort of don't understand, but you know, you just sort of have to do it. Everybody pitches in and does their part, then it all works better. And that's what this song is about. Written by a friend of ours who passed away a few years ago. His name was Chuck Pyle.
We hope that even though we can't hear you, that you'll be singing along. And you know, if you don't like the voice of your mother, sister, brother, uncle, who's in the room with you, it just gives you an excuse to socially distance from that voice of which you are not fond.
Well, the chorus goes like this. Step by step, side by side, hand in hand, this old world's a better ride. Step by step, side by side, take a little step with your neighbor, side by side. Now when that comes around, try that with us. There's an old ancient saying in the wind, we must slowly take that first step to begin. We're on our way now, we've done that hardest part. Journey with a generous heart, a generous heart. Your turn. Step by step, side by side, hand in hand, this old world's a better ride. Step by step, side by side, take a little step with your neighbor, side by side. Though we've stumbled and we've broken our stride, we're wearing old worn out boots and foolish pride. We're going to put on a brand new pair of running shoes. To run a race in which no one can win or lose. No one can win or lose. Step by step, side by side, hand in hand, this old world's a better ride. Step by step, side by side, take a little step with your neighbor, side by side. And if you see me falling down, won't you stop and lend a hand? What goes around comes round, it comes around and back again. So if you go to another for help, it doesn't mean you can't do it for yourself. It just means that your neighbors will know. Right here in King, if he needs a hand, he'll know where to go. He'll know where to go. Step by step, side by side, hand in hand, this old world's a better ride. Better ride. Step by with later side by side. All right. One step at a time, that's all we need.
One day when I was in a solo canoe, a Lost Pond boat on Sagamore Lake, down in Racket Lake, heart of the Adirondacks, and I paddled out, and ahead of me was a loon that was tipped over on its back, preening its chest feathers, and then it disappeared below the surface of the water. And when I got to the place where the loon had been, there were little feathers left as a gift on the surface of the lake. It was just a very magical moment. And I thought to myself that any time in nature, when you are in nature, can be a sacred experience. And so that's where this idea came from. Quiet enough to hear the paddle dipping. Quiet enough to hear the water rippling. I breathe in the stillness and the beauty. This is my sanctuary. Quiet enough to hear small wings flutter. Quiet Lonely again?
Yes.
Sin and
A
Twine?
couple of tunes. First one I wrote for a wonderful dulcimer player who passed away last year, a fellow named Bill Spence. Bill had done a lot for the hammer dulcimer over the years. And we were involved with Bill with a program we were doing for suffrage, women's suffrage songs, with old songs for a couple of years, which was really delightful. So I wrote this tune when I asked Bill to make a hammered dulcimer for me years ago, and then you had to get on the list. So you put your name on the list, and wherever your name fell, then when that instrument was built, you got your dulcimer. And I'm a little nervous, and I just called him quite often, like once a week, to say, "Hi, is that dulcimer ready yet?" And Andy would say, "No, hi Dan, not ready yet, but we'll let you know when it is." And finally, after one day when I called them, they said, "We have a dulcimer here that a woman in California was going to get, but if you can come pick it up, you can buy it, but you have to promise not to call us for a while." And I said, "Okay, I will." And I wrote this album for Bill saying that he might get lonely because I hadn't called him all week. So it's called The Lonely Again Rag, and then a wonderful French-Canadian tune called The Real de Saint Antoine. Are you ready, dear?
No, everybody, darling.
3, 4.
believe that having children and grandchildren keeps us looking toward the future and wanting to invest in that future. So my friend's son wrote an essay, and in it he said, "Love is gravity." Keeps me working toward what I think will be a good place for my great-grandchildren to live someday. And I thought, love is gravity, what an idea that is. So I wrote this song, thinking of that.
Isn't that great when one thing comes into your head and you can make that work? One phrase.
You have to be careful what you say to a woman who writes songs. A woman with a microphone is a dangerous thing.
Especially when you're married to her. Then you have to be real careful. 3, 4.
11, 8. America's great. 11, 9. Not so fine. The naked emperor struts down the street, and all his minions swear his threads are sweet. I'm not gonna go crazy or slip into despair. Love is gravity, it keeps me there. There in the voting booth, my ballot in hand, shoulder to the wheel, I firmly stand. It would be easy, say it's no use. It would be easy to ignore the rules, but I'm one of many to calmly resist with an open head and will to persist. I'm not gonna go crazy or slip into despair. Love is gravity, it keeps me there. There on the stage, guitar in hand, shoulder to the wheel, I firmly stand. Songs soothe the souls in slavery bound, unite the suffragists on the prison grounds, inspire the workers, union rank and file. So I'll throw my little song up onto the pile. I'm not gonna go crazy or slip into despair. Love is gravity, it keeps me there. There in the voting booth,
that on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Look at that. See, when we play, the brain stopped. That's a good thing, you know.
Right.
Usually it starts when we start playing, and then we got to run inside that this was a good plan. All right, a couple more tunes. Have you ever been in a paddle boat? You know, it's about as exciting as watching paint dry. You know, you sit there and it's a perfect thing to do on a hot sunny day if you have a beer and you put it in the cup holder. So I don't understand why they don't put cup holders in lawnmowers. I guess they do now. I think, right, John Deere probably puts them right on the side so you can have your beer while you're mowing the lawn. But when you're sitting in the paddle boat, all you're doing is, you're not even really paddling, you're paddling with your feet. So we were in Texas years ago and someone said, hey, you know, I wonder if we could sink this thing. That's the wrong thing to say to some young men, because we were able to sink the paddle boat. And the hardest part was getting it back up the next day, getting it back to the surface, but we did. So we wrote this tune about that whole experience called The Paddle Boat Reel, and then a wonderful tune from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, which is called Big John McNeil. Let me just check my tuning here. 2, 3, 4.
could be really considered an Adirondack song. It has a few too many blue notes, what Bill Smith likes to call those 50-cent chords. But it's one of our favorites, and so we always like to share it with you. I like to see Dan play it on the dulcimer because dulcimer is not a chromatic instrument, and so it's hard to find those accidental notes in those funny chords. And Dan has to put on his track shoes to go all over the dulcimer to find those notes.
Accidentals. It's an accident when we find them, I think. Oh, it's turned out to be a lovely afternoon. Well, I hope you're having as much fun as we are. Especially all you guys back home. Stay safe. Keep your distance. This too will pass. It will. We've been through a lot, and we'll get through this one.
It's a song from 1931, written by Gerald Marks and Seymour Simons. And it made it all the way to the top of the charts to a number one hit twice in 1 year. First with the Paul Whiteman Orchestra, and then with Louis Armstrong.
1, 2, 3.
Thanks for hosting us today. Thanks to Dennis for recording, and it's really wonderful to be here in the mountains.
It is. Thank you once again, and
Thank you.
enjoy the rest of your summer.